In Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta has met with leaders of Kenyan Somali community as part of ongoing efforts to curb terror attacks and insecurity. He urged the leaders to play an active role in combating terrorism widely linked to members of their community. This came as hundreds of suspects were nabbed in yet another night of a massive police operation in the city, and the country's Senate mulled over a law to form a special unit comprising Kenya Defence Forces to fight terrorism. CCTV's Jane Kea was embedded with law enforcement agents overnight in their aggressive campaign against terrorism.
More suspects from yet another massive police operation in downtown Nairobi. Prompted by fears of terror attacks and insecurity, regular patrols have taken a new aggressive turn that has seen hundreds of people, police say more than 1,000, apprehended for various offences in such swoops in the last few days. Well, such patrols have been stepped up as part of measures aimed at sealing loopholes used by terrorists to sneak in weapons and carry out attacks, but they're also part of a general crackdown to stem the recent increase in crime.
We are aiming at preventing crime generally. But at the same time, we have a special focus on aliens.
Like this man who claims to be from the tiny Southern African nation of Swaziland.
I lost all my things. I get ID, the police abstract only. I make a report in Kamponji police, and right now those police ask me document. I don't have document. Just I'm waiting to go back. I'm still looking for help.
He's got the abstract, but we're doubting it, so we are going to interrogate him at Central Police.
While there's no evidence that the illegal immigrants are behind recent attacks in Likoni in which 6 people died, the Westgate attack 6 months ago proved otherwise. Authorities claim the perpetrators were illegal immigrants of Somali origin who used refugee camps as their entry points. 2 of the suspects in the church attack were shot dead by police Friday. A third escaped with injuries. But ethnic Somalis have in the process become prime targets in the ongoing crackdown. The Kenyan president and his deputy believe their leaders have a role to play.
It will not continue. And we have to tell each other as blunt and as candid as we can.
Hiyo sio nchi ambaye inabagua Waislamu.
It doesn't mean we're against Islam, because in our country we have freedom of worship and we should respect all sects and all religions.
Na tunaheshimu jamii zote.
But in the meantime, police say so far the new campaign is bearing fruit, but more needs to be done.
Insecurity is not a plan of the security forces. This is a plan of the thugs. If there is any problem of insecurity, then that lies with the members of public.
And as the spate of terror attacks has proven a running point for Kenyans, the country's Senate is hinting at pushing a law for the creation of a Homeland Security Unit. The unit, comprising the Kenya Defence Forces, will be tasked with tackling terrorism. Jane Kea, CCTV, Nairobi, Kenya.
Right, so for more on this, we have here in studio Mr. Simuyu Werunga, who is a security analyst. Simuyu, thank you for joining us. So obviously, a very aggressive operation there by security forces here in the capital. But I mean, is conducting a swoop the best way to deal with terrorism? One would wonder, is this a knee-jerk reaction considering these aliens travel hundreds of kilometers from their countries of origin and find their way to Nairobi?
Well, it is not one of the best ways to deal with terrorism, and we've never recommended it to be one of the ways to deal with terrorism. I think it's something that is being used as a deterrent, just to make sure that these people, if they are within our towns, they are not free to walk about and plan their things with the freedom that they seem to have had before. So it's not really the best way to do with this. And we are hoping that probably they are doing this as one of the first steps towards entrenching serious anti-crime methods that the police are going to use to deal with terrorism in this country.
Because so far there's been no mention of securing, for instance, the porous borders.
Yes. That's why we are saying, we are hoping that this could just be one of the ways they're trying to use to disorganize the teams that are believed to be in our towns, but as a way of a major operation that is supposed to take charge of our borders, to ensure that our youth are not being radicalized, to ensure that some of the preachers that we think are actually radicalizing our youth do not have the freedom to continue doing that. And that is our prayer, that they will not rely on this as a way of ensuring that they deal with terrorism in this country.
So the police are obviously hailing it a success, saying so far it's been productive. But to what extent really is this a success? I mean, how do you measure these, especially in the context of, you know, combating terrorism?
While I cannot speak for them, I'll speak very, very competently that this cannot be rated to be a success, because swooping people in our streets is not a way, it's not one of the many ways we know of dealing with terrorism. Terrorism is a societal problem. Terrorism is a community problem. So sweeping people in their estates, in their neighborhoods, and saying it is a success, I think that is the wrong statement to say. We are hoping that the Kenyan police, with what we've seen from last year up to now, and we are now sort of working with them to assist them entrench a more strategic way of dealing with terrorism in this country. So yes, on that one, I don't think they are correct to say it's a success.
Right, but why is it that, I mean, Kenya isn't just experiencing terrorism now. It has suffered terrorist attacks since, at the very least, 1998 during the US bombing. So, you know, the question is, why is it that Kenya seems to be at a loss to deal with terrorism decisively?
Three things, and they're unique to this country. One is that we have a very large number of our Kenyans who are of Somali extraction. Now, most of these people who belong to Al-Shabaab are from the Somali extraction, but from across. Most of them, at the early stages when the country collapsed, crossed over into this country, and some of them are actually sort of been naturalized into Kenyans. Some of them we know have gotten papers that are not really genuine, but they now walk around as Kenyans. That's one problem. Number two, the country let go managing our security for a while. So that opened corruption. And because of corruption and laxity on our part as a government, not this current government, but previous governments, so when you look at the three elements, they make Kenya a very unique country in terms of our capacity to deal with terrorism. Because you will not differentiate who is a Kenyan Somali, who is a Somali from Somalia. So those three things have made this country a bit unpredictable in how we can manage terrorism in this country.
Right. Let's leave it there for now. Thanks very much for those insights. Simuyu Werunga in studio with us.